I posted something about the past and, she was like, just get over it. And I'm like, you know what? I used to think exactly that way. And, cause I thought I was, I was successful, like what the heck? But I was blind to where I could truly grow. Like I was just looking at how do I grow my business? How do I get the, bottom line higher? And not looking at, well, how can I actually have closer friends? How can I actually have better relationships?
Welcome to Stuck to Unstoppable, where we interview the world's foremost thought leaders to break things down in order to help you get past your hurts, habits, and hang-ups and finally level up and move forward. I'm your host, Scoggins. Now let's go ahead and get into today's guest and our featured conversation. You're not going to want to miss it. I think we're really going to appreciate today's humble confidence carried by today's featured conversation. Ray Higdon is a world-renowned speaker, two-time best-selling author, and a co-founder of the Higdon Group, one of Inc.'s 5,000 fastest-growing businesses, simply on a mission to help entrepreneurs achieve lasting financial freedom and the ultimate fulfillment. The Higdon Group teaches entrepreneurs how to get more leads, recruit more reps, and become top earners, especially in the areas of network marketing. Ray and his wife are also the creators of the hit reality show Play to Win, where over 40 plus motivated contestants tackle sales, business challenges simply to win an opportunity to change their lives. Guys, please help me welcome Ray Higdon. Ray, what's going on, man? How you doing, dude?
Hey, I'm good. Thanks for having me on here. I got loving the studio, man. I'm a little jealous right now.
I don't need to be jealous, man. You guys have done some really, really amazing things. In fact, one of the things I was very intrigued about is I have this heart, if you will, to help people kind of go to the next level. And one of the things that I know that we both share is this sense of facing adversities head on, if you will, to get to the next level. If anybody does a quick Google search of your name and what you and your wife have been building and doing for a while now, they'll see that obviously you've become very successful in a variety of different capacities, but what they may not know is actually where that started from. And, because sometimes people make this assumption that, they did it, but I can't do it. Tell everybody a little bit about where you come from and kind of the background about how you kind of, shifted your entire life and how you kind of went from what we refer to as stuck to unstoppable.
Yeah. Happy to share and hope it helps, someone listening. Like many, I didn't grow up with an ideal childhood. My parents had split when I was very young, and my dad, he remarried someone that was very abusive. So that was, being woken up by being thrown against the closet and stomped was a daily occurrence for me. I remember, going to kindergarten with bloody noses. I remember having to wear, turtlenecks in the summer because I had claw marks all on my neck and everything. And so I didn't have that leg up. I didn't have, the amazing, model parents or anything like that. I think that's one of the things, and we were talking about this earlier, I think it's one of the things that makes me fight for the underdog so much. Like I love the underdog. I love, doing things to help those who feel like they've, they're powerless or they're, voiceless or they, can't overcome their obstacles. And so it's definitely one of my driving forces is helping those who need some inspiration and have been through some stuff.
Yeah.
And so, fast forward, a few years, I had worked my way up in the corporate world to a pretty decent salary. I think most would consider it decent, but pretty good salary. And I realized that I just wasn't very happy. The harder I worked, the more they would pay me, which is nice, but the more they would demand of me. And I had two young boys at home that I was barely seeing, making good money, but barely seeing the kids. And I just didn't like it. I had some friends who were crushing it in real estate. So this was back in 2004, 2005 here in the state of Florida, and killing it in real estate. And I'm like, man, I went to high school with these knuckleheads. If they can do it, I think I can too. And so I left the corporate world. No one agreed with that decision. Everyone thought I was crazy. What are you going to do about benefits? And everyone thought I was nuts, but I went into real estate full time, did really good. Had my first chance of becoming arrogant, which was great. I'm like, man, I'm a genius. What's that?
Those are always fun, aren't they? I've been there
Yeah,
myself.
yeah. And so I'm like, I'm a genius. I'm amazing. And then the market tanked and I got completely wiped out. And here's what that looks like. I mean, I wiped out my 401k, my IRA, my savings bonds that my dad had given me, sold furniture, my own furniture, still ended up in foreclosure, chased by bill collectors, over $1 million in debt, depressed, then went through a divorce. And I was at the lowest of the low, and I really didn't know what I was going to do. And, the thing is, at that time, everyone I knew had been in real estate and no one's hiring. My credit's shot. I can't get a loan for anything. I'm in foreclosure. I don't know what I'm going to do. And I had a buddy reach out to me and tell me about something that I had sworn I would never do again, which was network marketing. Okay. And I'd had some bad experiences with it in the past. But I looked at it and I'm like, I don't really have many options. At least I didn't feel I did. And so I decided that I was going to make it work. And long story short, became the number one income earner in that company. And about 4 years ago, my wife got married in 2011. My wife and I decided to focus on coaching and training instead. So we no longer build a network marketing business, but we now coach and train a lot of network marketers and a lot of other professions as well. And we love what we do. And so built Inc. 5000 company, have made some moolah online, and we love helping others overcome their stuff.
Yeah, no, I think it's one of the things I love most about y'all's story. The other thing that I think is interesting is, people look at setbacks as a reason to give up or reason to quit. Sure. And I think you and I would share that actually setbacks, failures, if you will, are actually foundations to build a better life. Yeah. Because it forces you to get innovative. It forces you to become creative. It forces you to push yourself past your limits. But one of the other things that I think that you mentioned in a previous, a little bit earlier, was the fact that, there's this element of just reconnecting, so there's the traditional business model of a brick and mortar store. So I own 6 companies, and of those 6 companies, almost all of them are brick and mortar in some way, shape, or form. In other words, they have, typical team members, typical customer base, very B2B, sure, related, but there's freedoms that come with, in the coaching and strategic partnerships. And one of the things that I loved about some of the things that I've seen you do is this concept of dating your spouse again. So how did you pivot that? Because, when we look at it, relationships are by far one of the strongest things that we need, especially to get through the difficult seasons, but also catapult us past that. When you began to kind of look at your new wife and you kind of say, okay, we're going to build this lifestyle together. I mean, how did you guys do it together? Because you guys are very tight knit now at the hip.
Yeah. And, and I don't know that there's a blueprint for all couples to work happily together every day in the same house all the time. But I'll be honest, I just feel so blessed and grateful that I found someone of her caliber and personality. She overlooks all of my quirks, and I admire and am grateful for all of her wonder because she's incredible. So that's definitely a part of the equation. Let me tell you, before Jess, my wife, I was engaged to someone that I could not work with for more than 20 minutes. And so it's not, I'm not the magic elixir here. It's really the combination. And so when we were, working together, we first kind of butted heads and clashed because I thought I'm supposed to do these 10 things. She's supposed to do these 10 things. Mm-hmm. And the fact is we each have different strengths. So for example, I'm a consistency freak of nature. I've done, at least one video a day every day without missing for 11 years. Mm-hmm. I'm a lunatic. And so to me, that's just, I run on the path, and I don't understand people that don't. It's like, what do you mean? It's not that big a deal. I just do one. And so like, I'm just a freak like that. Yeah. She views that kind of thing as homework, and it just makes her like, she hates her existence. Yeah. But you can hand her a project and she will rock that mother like nobody's business, right? So like me, I look at a project as, that's impeding on my daily routine.
Yeah.
She looks at it as, ooh, a project that has a beginning and an end. Fantastic. And so we learn that about each other. And so we learned that there were certain things that I really like to do, she didn't like to do. The daily marketing, the daily lead generation and things like that. Like I like doing that stuff. That doesn't bother me at all. The connecting with leads, the relationship building, she likes to do. Projects, she likes to do. And so we kind of figured that out, that we didn't have to have the same, themes, that we could, choose to, each of us could have very important roles in the company, doing different things. And so, that's one. And I think, for me, I'll give you how hardcore I am at wanting to be better for her. Okay. So and this has to do with, inner growth and just asking yourself, the right questions. So we were at a charity event. We're on a couple different charity boards, and we were at this charity event, and they were having this big auction. They raised millions of dollars in, this one day, and it's awesome for kids. And so one of our neighbors comes up to us and says, "Hey, did you see the Belize trip?" And I'm like, "No, what's a Belize trip?" And she goes, "Oh my God, it looks amazing. It's 5 couples only. You're on a private island, private jet, private yacht, private chef. Only 5 couples. It looks amazing." And so my wife was like, oh, like that. I mean, she just like hits all the buttons, like checks all the boxes. Like that sounds like the perfect thing that she's ever crossed her ears. Me, I'm terrified. To me, it sounds like the most stressful thing I've ever heard, because to me, it sounds like, you mean I'm going to be trapped with 5 other couples and I'll have to talk with them the whole time? Like that kicked in my introvertness. That kicked in my, like, but I like to escape, man. Like I'm cool hanging with y'all at a party, but 5 days and I'm around you all the time. Like that just stressed me the hell out. On the way home, I was like, man, here's my wife, who's just amazing, who, by the way, was paying my bills when I was in foreclosure, right? And so like, here's my wife, who's so amazing, who is so excited about that thing. And here's me shooting it down, being fuddy-duddy, being peeing on her parade, right? Like that's terrible. What the hell's wrong with me that I didn't also get excited to do that with her? And so I have a couple different mindset coaches I've used over the years, and I really dove into that. Why did that freak me out? Why did that stress me out? And it actually comes from something that I didn't even remember, as I did, go under hypnosis, and it absolutely comes from, there was an event in my life in the 3rd grade that I was, in that house, of abuse, and my 3rd grade teacher recognized that something was wrong. Something's not right here. Yeah. Had me start meeting with the guidance counselor, which, I didn't know, like, well, okay, fine. You're going to meet with her every week. So, we meet every week, and I start opening up, because it's kind of nice. I've never had anyone to share, my stuff with. And so I start sharing my stories and sharing, here's what happened this weekend. This, and I, share a terrible story, and it felt kind of nice. Well, one day I walk into, our weekly meeting, and my parents are there. So my dad's there, my stepmom's there, guidance counselor, me. Yeah. And the guidance counselor proceeds to tell every story I've ever shared with her. And because she thought they were so outrageous that I was making them up. And so that was a bad day. I got home, and that was just not a great day. Yeah. Since then, I've had major trust issues. So I've really not, I have kept people at a social distance, because I didn't trust them. Like, hey, you know what? Here's how I don't get hurt. I just keep you away from me. Yeah. And so the idea of being secluded on an island, on a jet, on a disc, like that triggered all my alarms. And since really digging deep into that and figuring that out, we bought the Belize trip. So we haven't taken it yet, but I'm able to. But
Yeah.
not knowing like how come this freaks me out is a question that I think more people should not just adopt as well. It's just my
Yeah.
personality. Like dig into that. Why are you that way? If it's not empowering to you, how can
Yeah.
you improve that? And it's by digging in.
Yeah, man, I love that. Oh my gosh, that was so good. A couple different things I heard out of that. First of all, lean into your strengths. The
Yep.
fact that you and
Yeah.
your wife are able to lean into your strengths and amplify those. You backfill each other's, struggles, blind spots, if you will. The one thing I didn't expect you to touch on that you did has now got my brain firing like crazy is this concept, and I believe this as well, of going backwards in order to prepare forwards.
Yep.
So you guys pretty much coach everything from what I guess is referred to as the underdog to ultra performers. Do you have to coach them in a different way as a result of that, or do you take them, kind of like through the process you just walked us through of going backwards a little bit to go forwards? I mean, what do you see most often?
Yeah, it depends. I mean, sometime I definitely don't call myself a life coach,
Yeah.
but sometimes that's needed. And I would say most of the times the person I'm working with is someone with a, multiple 6 or 7 figure business, and they're either frustrated, not fulfilled,
Yeah.
stuck.
Yeah.
And that's who I'm typically working with on a one-on-one basis. And we have, groups, and we have courses and books and everything for those, trying to get to a level of
Yeah.
success. But I'll give you a great example. So one of my clients, she's multi-million dollar a year earner, and does really well in her network marketing business, and her business is 99.9% women,
Yeah.
and a lot of the women in her company have been through trauma, have been through abuse. Some have been through very unfortunate sex trafficking and sexual abuse and all kinds of crazy things. And she always felt bad. She always felt bad because she grew up with money.
Yeah.
And so she kind of shied away from letting people in because she didn't want them to find out that she was a dirty money person.
Yeah. Yeah.
But the fact is, feelings are feelings, how you feel. The reality is that often she felt like she could not make her parents proud. She couldn't make specifically her dad proud. She always, like, even with building a multi-million dollar business, dad, didn't really take it that seriously.
Mm.
Well, that's a serious feeling, whether you came from money or not.
Yeah.
And so there are ways to share your story. You don't have to say I came from money. You could simply say, hey, I have a dad I'm always been trying to impress, and just never works. I just never feel like he's proud of me. That's a feeling that, raise your hand if you can, relate
Right.
with that. That'd be,
Yeah, for
certainly
sure.
me and so many other people. And so sometimes it is about coaching them through some of what happened in the past. Sometimes you'll find, sometimes, almost all the time, you'll find patterns.
Yeah.
So the pattern of someone creating success, something happens, they go do something else, right?
Yeah.
They get it, go to the next one.
Yeah.
And that was me. And so my programming is, and it still is, even though I'm aware of it, is I'll show you. So
Yeah.
I seek doubt. I love people that doubt me, because then I'm like, yay, all right. But once I start proving myself, and
Yeah.
once I start seeing fewer and fewer doubters, I would get bored and I would move on to another thing. And so, I'll show you can be disastrous, because you might have been able to take something that was really, really good and made it amazing,
Yeah.
but not if you keep on being on autopilot and keep triggering. And so sometimes it's finding, what is the pattern? Why does that keep happening? How come each relationship sucks that you have? Because, you're the constant here.
Yeah.
And so whether it's a business relationship, whether it's a personal relationship. And so sometimes it is digging into the past, and sometimes it's just providing more business, strategy. Because I see a lot of people that are making a lot of money, but either A, are very frustrated and feeling burnt out,
Yeah.
or B, they don't understand that their money is also a business, and they're not, they're not properly investing or properly being a steward for their money,
Sure.
so that it can last a lot longer and grow.
Yeah.
That was a long answer. I'm
Oh, dude,
sorry.
I love it. I'm eating this up. I think it's always important, especially with entrepreneurs, people that have been through some traumatic things. Uh, I find that the key to breakthrough oftentimes is dedicated to self-awareness more than anything else.
Yeah.
I find that even ultra performers, underdogs, like that people that have been, kind of in the dark places I know we've both been in, and also people that have, experienced the success, like some of the things that we've done. Um, there's always this element of self-awareness to actually get to the place. I find that people that are really, I actually find that the key to self-awareness is self-identity, is really kind of discovering who you are. And I think part of that is digging in. When you begin to look at the different things that have taught you these things, it seems like it is the process of self-awareness, of becoming truly self-aware. The fact that you can identify, hey, look, this was a traumatic moment. Hey, look, I realize that I'm the common denominator here. These things I think are life truths, if you will, that, set up whether or not you're able to break through or not break through. Is there one specific limiting belief, if you will, or one specific type of hindrance that you see coming up over and over again, the more and more you work with thousands of people and even your one-on-one coaching clients? Do you see a reoccurring theme with one or a couple of limiting beliefs?
I mean, a lot of times it comes down to how are we made to feel bad, and us showing up in a way to protect ourselves from that. So the way that I protected myself was, hey, with that guidance counselor, I openly shared, and I was free as the wind. And so I'm just not going to, I'm not going to get close with people. Yeah. And not that I was verbally saying that, I was on autopilot. And that's the big thing. And I actually have a very, very successful client, one of the biggest earners in all of network marketing, pulling down, she makes over $1 million a month take home. And she, I posted something about the past, and, she was like, just get over it. And I'm like, you know what? I used to think exactly that way. And cause I thought I was successful, like what the heck? But I was blind to where I could truly grow. Like I was just looking at, how do I grow my business? How do I get the, bottom line higher? And not looking at, well, how can I actually have closer friends? How can I actually have better relationships? How can I show up as the best father? Right. And so these are tougher questions than how do I move the bottom line? That's a pretty straightforward question. And so it's usually, we created a protection mechanism. And by the way, that's a protection mechanism. Get over it. Right. If you don't give meaning to anything, we'll power past it. Right. That's a protection mechanism. Right. And so it's the balance of, let me find out why I operate this way without just being stuck there and never do anything, but let me find out and use that. There was I'll give you an example that I think has helped a few people is when was this? I remember Jess used to do this thing where, my wife, she used to do this thing where if, she would manage my bank account. So we may have just bought a home. We may have just bought a car. We may have just done this. We may have just whatever, may have just, been traveling or whatever. And she would look at the bank account. And if it was less, she would say, bank account's down. And so, like, one, that's not a good way to manage things, first of all. Okay. And we've learned that. We've both learned that. But she would make this statement, bank's a little low. That would get translated in my goofy, male brain as, I'm not doing enough. She's worried about finances. I'm not keeping up my end of the bargain. I'm not a man. Yeah. That's how I would translate it. And so I would work like crazy. I would do not 2 webinars a day, 5 webinars a day. I would just work like nuts. And then she'd casually stroll in the office and say, what's wrong? Why are you working so hard? I'm like, what do you want from me? Right? Because I was translating it totally out of context, not how she didn't mean bank account's down, you need to work harder. That's not, she was just making an observation.
Yeah.
And so for literally years, this went on. She would bank account down, stressed. We'd have all this, conflict. And then one day I'm like, babe, when you say that to me, this is how I feel. And she's like, oh my God, like I had no idea. That's not what I was intending.
Yeah.
And so having open communications, and we, did something to solve it. We're like, okay, what do we need to invest to make you feel good, right? What percentage needs to go where to make you feel good about that you're going to be safe? Because her trigger was she saw her mom go from making a lot of money to being broke. So both of our triggers are being firing. I'm firing off me being a man and providing for her, and me also, lots of things, and her afraid of losing. Yeah. So those are two things that were being fired. Neither of us knew, neither of us actually communicated, but when we did, we stopped fighting about it. We no longer have that problem.
Yeah, and I think that's same situation. I find that a lot of people deal with that in that, their triggers might be different. They vary, especially in marriage, especially in tight relationships, whether it's a business partnership, it's a marriage, it's a, father, son, mother, daughter, whatever that is, it forces you to fight out of fear. Yeah. And some of the worst decisions you can possibly make are, based out of fear. Yeah. Have you been able to come up with a couple different principles or practices that, outside of obviously the communication you just mentioned, are there some other things that you use personally to kind of stay out of fear or to try to at least be aware of that you're feeling it so you can address it? Is there anything like that you've got?
Yeah. I don't know if it's fear, but comfort. Yeah. Like comfort is if you're wanting to grow like we are, we want to impact more people. We want to make a difference. We want to grow the business. We want to make more money. We want to donate more. We want to do all these things, right? Yeah. And so I've become very attuned to if I'm comfortable, something's wrong.
Okay.
And so I'll give you an example because that sounds like a terrible thing to to conclude. We had, this was maybe 2 years ago now, maybe 2 years ago, we had built our events up over the years, and, we got into, 300, 400, 500, 600, we've gotten up to maybe 800-900 people that were coming to our events. And I had this thought of, what, we need to be different. Well, we need to have more intimate events. And so, we decided to do that. And so I, went to the audience and said, hey, next event, we're only going to have, I think, 250 people, and whenever the tickets sell. So in 36 hours, boom, all sold out. Yeah. And I remember going to the event, and there was no stress. There was no trepidation. There was no anxiety, because I had spoken to 250 people before. That really that's not that huge of a crowd. Yeah. And I realized, I'm like, oh my God, I did an upper limit belief. I hit an upper limit problem. So I was going in the right direction, said, well, let's go smaller. And I showing up to the event, I realized, I'm like, I've made a huge mistake. And so one of the things I did about that was I hired Grant Cardone.
Okay. Yeah.
Give him $100,000 for 6 hours. And in that first hour, I told him, I'm like, we got this event coming up, and, it's going to be a smaller event, but we want to go big the next year. And he's like, well, why not go big this next event? And we're like, oh, well, we got it in the hotel and it's under contract. He goes, cancel it. I'm like, well, it's like under contract and stuff, Grant. Like, maybe you didn't hear me. He's like, I heard you. Cancel it. Go big this year. And I'm like, like, that's discomfort, right? And so, like, I'm nervous now. And so we do that, and we pay the penalty, and we then go on to sell in less than 90 days. This was last year. We sold 2,400 tickets. Wow. So literally 3-4 times more than we've ever had in 90 days. And it was really stressful, high anxiety, but it was an amazing event. It was absolutely incredible. And then we have an event, coming up that I think right now we're at like 3,400 tickets, and it's a virtual conference because everything's going on. But you have to get around people that make you uncomfortable. And you also have to have a self-awareness, like you talked about. I had that self-awareness of, I'm not nervous at all. This sucks. Like, what the heck, man? Like, I don't want to just breeze through life. That's not growth. Growth is uncomfortable. Growth is, ow, my calves hurt. Growth is, dang, that's going to sting in the morning. It's not, boy, this is super easy to do. And so like having that awareness of, are you growing at the right speed for your goals? And if you're not, if they're big goals and you're not uncomfortable, then something's wrong.
I love it. Yeah, I have a big belief in, there's a talent to being comfortable in the uncomfortable. That nothing's growing unless you're uncomfortable. There's no muscle tissue, no muscle fiber. I was, ironically, one of my little, he's taller than I am, but one of my young guys that is working at the Journey Principles, he, great kid, loved to death. He's the kind of guy that if I get into a car ride with him, on the way to an event or something like that, and you're in the car for he'll pepper me with questions the entire way there, 8.5 hours. Nice. Love his brilliance. Love everything about him. He actually decided to work out with me at the gym this morning. And he got there, we do our little cardio or whatever, pop off the cardio, hop over to the leg machine. He's like, what, today's leg day? Oh man, I wish you'd told me it was leg day. If it was leg day, I wouldn't. I said, dude, I hate working legs just as much as anybody. I said, but here's the thing, you got to work legs, right? So he gets on the leg machine and he pushes through and he's kind of like doing half reps and whatever. And I'm like, dude, full rep all the way through. He said, okay. So he does like 6. And I'm like, so you just threw that 6 back up like it was nothing. Yeah. I said, you do realize nothing happens physically in working out until the pain reps start. It's really the 2 or 3 reps after the pain starts that things begin to change. So what did he do the next set? He pushed himself.
Nice.
And I think there's a lot of, it's funny. I like to look at life and business as cohesive. I know a lot of us, especially ultra performers, like to separate the two and think they can silo, but one always influences the other. And I find that, that is at the meat and potatoes, if you will, of, getting to a life that you can actually appreciate. What do you think the number one thing that you've faced, or one thing that I think maybe your greatest takeaway of creating the life you love? What do you think is one major hurdle that we all have to overcome?
Something I definitely needed to tackle. I can give you one more internal and one more tangible, I guess, is one was acceptance. I wanted people to accept me. I wanted people to like me. I wanted people to approve of me. And almost every good decision I've ever made, hardly anybody approved of. Okay. So no one thought it was a good idea for me to leave the corporate world. They're like, dude, you're throwing away 7 years of your life, because I built up. Yeah. And you're throwing away your benefits. You got 2 young kids at home. Like, what are you doing, man? And I remember telling someone I really looked up to, one of my college professors, and I told him, I'm like, yeah, I'm going out on my own. He's like, well, okay, but you'll be back. Yeah. Like, you'll be back? Like, dang. Like, it kind of fired me up, because I seek doubters, right? So like my personality like kind of gobbles that stuff up, but I had to get there, because there was definitely a period where I couldn't handle that. Like, and then I would say the second thing that really, I think, was a major turning, like a fork in the road for me, was I was working for a county government. Yeah. And I was a, lowly, project manager. And my boss, who I really respected and looked up to, she said, hey, I'd like you to come in and give an update on the project you're working on. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, what do you mean? She goes, just in front of the department, just, kind of go through and maybe create a presentation. And I'm just like speak in front of these people, like, oh my God. And I was just so terrified, because, I didn't know this at the time, but at the time I felt like I was a really hard worker, but I was stupid. Like that's what I identified with. Everyone I worked with, I thought was really, really smart. And I thought I was kind of faking it, because I, was not as experienced as all of them. I was newer to that industry. And so, for 3 days, I barely sleep. I read like the Idiot's Guide to Speaking and dummy presentations, whatever. And I just, one thing that was consistent was in all these books that I read 2 or 3 books in that time span. It was like, and just know that when you screw up, nobody knows. So I really clung to that one.
Yeah.
And I remember that morning, my hand's on the phone back when you had a landline, right?
Yeah.
And my hand was on the phone, and I'm like, I'm just going to call in. This will pass. They'll forget about it. I'll just work hard. And just something was like, you got to go in, man. And so I go in, I somehow develop a stutter. I spill water all over myself, but I finish. I do it, right? I'm like, yay. And afterwards, my boss, Maggie, she's like, hey, Ray, can you come my way? And so I go in there, and, I don't know, is she going to say I did okay? Is she going to say, oh my God, that was amazing?
Yeah.
And she said, Ray, are you on drugs? And I'm like, right. I mean, apparently I was a complete mess. I was a total nightmare. And so afterwards, I'm just crushed, because now it's been confirmed. I'm an idiot, right? I'm not as smart as anybody else. And so I remember sitting in the parking lot. I drove green, like a forest green Hyundai Sonata back then. And so I got my hands on the steering wheel. I'm just like, you know what? I'm just going to leave. Yeah. I can get a job in construction. Like I can, like I'm ready to totally change my identity, grow a mustache, something. And I just like, you know what? I got to face this fear. And so the next day I went to a local college there and said, put me in every speaking class you have. Yeah. And the registrar was like, well, that's interesting. Usually that's the last class people take. And so I took speech, I took strategic thinking, and anything that made me get in front of the group. That's what I wanted. And so joined Toastmasters. And so, I tackled that fear head on. And it was about 2 years later that I was speaking on the Vegas Strip at Planet Hollywood. Wow. Had left the corporate world and was doing real estate stuff. And so it was wild, man. But that was a fork. If I would have crumbled, if I would have, chosen something different, I mean, we definitely wouldn't be here today. That's for sure.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think there's fantastic lessons. One of the things I just want to thank you of is being so vulnerable and transparent of the things that you face. No, seriously. I mean,
of how terrible I've been in the past.
well, I mean, I'm finding more and more that people don't want gurus. They want guides, right? They want people who have been where they've been. They don't, it's very easy, especially in a social media world, in a video world, or, media world, if you will, to very easily put on your prettiest face, if you will, and show your best stuff, and, highly edit stuff, and make sure the lighting's right and the audio's perfect, and, all this kind of stuff. I think that there's more than wisdom and understanding that comes out of this. There's transparency and a sense of, yes, I can do this. Yeah. And that's one of the things I appreciate about what you guys have been building all this time. And, I look at that as the deep driving heart behind everything that you guys have been building. I mean, the live event that's now virtual because of COVID, of course, I'm sure, Rank Makers Live, right, was in many ways is kind of developed out of that. It's kind of developed out of this, hey, look, I sincerely want to help you win. Yeah. For those who are listening who don't know what Rank Makers Live is, give us a little bit of insight about what that event is and kind of what it entails for most people, in case they're in that modality of needing some help.
Yeah, I mean, I think at time of air, it'll probably be past. But Rank Makers Live is our 3-day virtual experience where we going up to a studio. We're actually working with the same team and software and company that worked with Russell Brunson and Tony Robbins for his big virtual experience. Yeah. And, so we're excited about that. And it's just, we have a lot of amazing speakers that help people profit on social media, but also create the internal breakthrough that they're looking for. And the term Rank Makers is for our private community. So we have a little bit over 14,000 people in our private community. And that's a $20 a month membership where I go live every single day. I give an action step and a training and help them create breakthroughs in their business.
Wow. Yeah. I like the fact that you guys, the approach is to come alongside of people. I like the fact that, that you mentioned this way early in the show that, you make a video every single day and you've been doing that consistently for 11
Yeah.
years. I find that one of the greatest tricks to breaking through and to have a personal level transformation is that consistency.
Yeah.
Are those some of the things that you guys really hit on really hardcore at your live events, whether they're live or virtual? Do you guys hit on the, process for consistency?
Oh yeah. Yeah. I mean, we talk about, here's the question. It's the question is, does your daily method of operation make success inevitable? You look at what you do each day. If you share that and you're real about it, not what you plan to do, but what you actually do each day, and you share that in front of a group, would everyone in the audience say, well, that'll work? Or would they be like, might work? And so you have to ask yourself those tough questions, because life is asking you those questions. If you're not consistent, life is asking you some tough questions. It's not giving you what you want. And so you gotta be tougher on yourself than life when it comes to, am I doing what I should be doing? Am I taking the right actions? If what I do, so when I got serious about, for example, that network marketing company, there were three things I did every day. I got 20 no's a day before my head hit the pillow. 20 people told me no, period. That didn't matter, raining outside, upset stomach, didn't matter, right? 20 people are telling me no today, right? And so I got 20 no's a day. I did a video a day. I did self-development every day. I've never shared that story and someone say, that really worked? Like, yeah, that'll work. That'll work for about anything. If you're in insurance, if you're in real estate, go get 20 no's a day where you're actually asking people, hey, will you take a look at my product, service, or opportunity? Hey, are you open to hearing more about my life insurance or whatever? You do that every day, and you do marketing video every day, and you do self-development every day, you're going to create success, period. And so like, just, let's get to it and let's really cut to the chase. I didn't have a beautiful logo. I remember I went to an event in 2011, and at the time, I don't know. I mean, I'd bounced back from foreclosure because I was in foreclosure in 2009. So I'm probably doing maybe $60,000, $70,000 a month at that point. And I remember a guy went on stage and said, hey, you guys should be blogging, and it doesn't have to be perfect. Just look at Ray Higdon's. It's the worst site I've ever seen.
Are you serious?
Like, worst site? Like, no one told me. I was
I'm here in the audience, right here.
I mean, it was an ugly site. And I asked, I'm like, hey, is my site ugly? They're like, it's pretty ugly, Ray. And I'm like, oh man, like I was a little bummed out. But hell, it made me a lot of money. And so, that's what's funny is, you don't have to have everything perfect. And I think that's something a lot of people suffer from. They take 2 years to develop their brand mark or their logo or their slogan. And in the meantime, no one's being impacted. No one's being helped. And so like, move forward imperfectly, have a daily method of operation that makes success inevitable, and you'll get there wherever you're wanting to go.
Awesome. Yeah. I mean, it's consistently part of the process is just creating momentum. I'm very much a doer. Like I want to create something, I just do it. And then I don't know, fear, call it experience, call it whatever, call it stupidity. I'm not sure which one it is, but I just believe that it's possible. I believe that anything that I put my mind to with enough work, enough consistency will bear fruit. It may not be the perfect on the first iteration, but by the time I get to the 10th or 15th iteration, it's looking pretty good. It's becoming really consistent. It's, taking that muscle memory. What I want to do, if it's right with you, is I actually want to pivot to your new hit TV show, your reality show, Play to Win. Tell everybody what Play to Win is. I caught a couple of clips, and now I'm hooked. So now I have to watch all the episodes. Like, tell us all about Play to Win, and then how that's actually transforming people, and then what you're seeing as part of the, obviously leading that effort.
Yeah. So, we like being different, and so for example, in our space of training a lot of network marketers, working with a lot of solopreneurs and things like that. For years, we did what everyone else did, which was do an event, launch a book, sell a course, right? And that's offer some coaching over here somewhere. And so in 2017, we wanted to be different. So that's when we launched our membership. And, I'm very, very proud of those guys. In the last 2 years, they brought in over 200,000 new customers, 49,000 new reps, and achieved 9,175 rank advances in their companies. And so like we track, production and everything. It's awesome. And so we got presented with this idea of, hey, what about a reality show? And we're like, well, that's definitely different. And so for, season one, we have 2 seasons. Actually, season 2 will be fully rolled out by the time, this airs. But it's where people came from. We had thousands of people apply, narrowed it down to, I think about each season is like 40, 45 people that, paid their own expenses to fly in and battle for either a job with us or coaching with us.
Okay.
And so we didn't know what would really happen.
Yeah.
We put them through the ringer. We had some of them selling, purses on the street. We had some of them doing fundraisers. We had some of them, doing physical things. But what really came was an amazing amount of people had been through incredible amounts of trauma. One of the finalists from season 1, he was doing magic tricks on the street at 8 years old because his mom was on crack, and he was doing that for food for both of them.
Gosh.
One lady who's amazing, Renee, she was, I don't know her exact age, but she is early 50s, and she had been sex trafficked. She had never shared her story to anybody.
Wow.
She comes on that show, and just something about the magic of the show, she shares that story. And so, and my point to her, and this was from season 1, my point to her was, hey, that's, I'm sorry that you went through that. Obviously you didn't deserve that, but you're a survivor. That story needs to be shared. What can you do to help some people who've gone through similar experiences? Yeah. And within a month or 2, she was speaking at women's shelters. Now, this is someone who didn't share it all her whole life. A couple months later, she's sharing it at women's shelters. She's speaking. And she just last week, she was one of the speakers who shared her story at the 17th annual Human Trafficking Awareness International event with 19 countries attending for the University of Toledo. And so like so many amazing breakthroughs, but we basically, it's on-air coaching to help them improve, have breakthroughs, and help them get to their next level. And so it's there's definitely some entertainment factors in there. There's some
yes, it is. Like I said, I watched one episode. Now I have to watch all the rest of them. Another binge-worthy environment for sure.
But it's especially season 2, we transformed it in that it's honed in on how to get what you want in life. And we take them through a series of steps of what questions to ask to really get what you want in life. So the viewer gets to ask themselves that same question to help them get closer to what they want in their life.
Dude, it's this movie amazing. Not only just the testimonies, but the sheer power of how mentorship, no matter how great or small, can make an impact in somebody's life.
For sure.
I think far too many times we get hung up in that. Well, I'm not called to be a speaker. I'm not called to write a book. And as a person of faith, I'll just mention this really fast. My grandfather, who coached me a lot with my faith, just kind of really poured into me over time. He asked me one question. He's like, from a faith perspective now. And again, no one has to believe like I believe necessarily, but my grandfather asked me one time. He goes, in my era, Billy Graham was the best evangelist in the world.
Yeah.
He goes, I never want you to downplay the importance of one person, because while everybody knows Billy Graham's name, somebody led Billy Graham to faith.
Yeah.
And that dawned on me. I was like, so that means no matter how small we perceive the story to be,
right?
How small we perceive our meaning to be and our significance to be, there's a greater use for it.
Right.
There's a catapulting moment for it.
Right.
And the fact that you guys are able to showcase that on camera is just incredible.
Yeah. Yeah. It's I still cry, when I see the episodes, because there's always some touching stuff in there, man. But we've kept in contact with all the contestants, and seeing what they're now doing in the world is just really inspiring.
Now, you're already a best-selling author, and it's okay for me to toot your horn because you've put in the work. Obviously, you put in not only just the work to develop into the person you are today, but also to change and transform lives. You've been actively doing those reps for years now. My understanding is you got a new bestseller on the way out. Is it any closer to coming out yet? When can we get our hands on the new book?
Yeah, I believe the official date is November 17th. And so, thanks for asking, my wife and I, we've been best-selling authors by being self-published.
Yeah.
This is our first major, publisher. It's with Hay House,
Awesome.
who's published, lots of amazing and so, we're really honored. It's called Time, Money, Freedom. And it is all about how to analyze your life of what areas do you want to completely alter, transform, upgrade, and strategies with how to do just that. And so, we talk about, why it's ethical for you to make more money, why you should take the time to do what we call pluck the weeds of looking at your life, and what are the areas that you just don't like, or what are the areas in your life that you resent, and how to actually do something about that. And so we're really proud of it. We think it'll do really well, but it comes out November 17th.
I have no doubt it's going to do really well. The heart behind it's legitimate. The experience behind the words and the typing is legitimate. And like I said, I think people right now, they want guides more than anything else. There's a lot of, as our good friend Steve would share with us, there's a lot of people who are out there trying to reclaim their hope, reclaim their identity, reclaim the next step. And it's coming out at just the right time to hit people right square in the heart, to actually start their own transformation. So I appreciate you actually taking some time with us today and actually sharing a little bit about everything. I love the fact that you took the time to share real stories, because people need that. I mean, they need the real stories. They need to be able to see themselves in the journey of someone else's journey, to know that it is possible. Yeah. And I applaud you and Jess for taking the time to do that over and over and over and over again. And I have no doubt that you guys will continue to be highly successful in that area and change lots and lots of lives around the country. Well, actually, no, you guys are worldwide at this point, so all over the place. But for those listening who want to stay connected with you and learn more about what you're doing, maybe, and check out everything from the live event to obviously the reality show to the upcoming book, what's the best way for them to kind of stay connected?
Yeah, I mean, you'll find most of our stuff on any social media platform, just searching Ray Higdon, Higdon. We first premiere our reality show releases on our Facebook page at facebook.com/Ray Higdon page. But we also have those on YouTube. We eventually put them on YouTube as well. And so, thank you for having me on here, and hope, someone hears this and gets inspired to do something.
I know the more and more we all step out on faith a little bit to help most people, it's going to happen. So, I appreciate you actually taking the time again today to spend some time with me. I know there's tons. I'm going to have a show note heyday when I get time to actually type up everything that we discussed and all the ground that we covered. There's so much wisdom in what you brought today, and I really appreciate you again taking the time to do that with the audience.
Hey, my pleasure. Thank you. Thanks for having me on.
All right, my friend. I'll see you again. Take care.
I absolutely love humble, confident leaders. And Ray Higdon, dude, you were a rock star. Now, if you guys really enjoyed that, you're going to love this one right here. So check it out.
Do videos go viral just to go viral? Yes, all day, every day. If you're at a party and you throw up on your friend or in the lawn, it's going to go viral. If you're in a fight video, it's going to go viral. If you're saying